uh-ohs, as I would call them. Uh-oh. 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 Because I'm nice. I don't have excuses. I have explanations and reasons why I made decisions, but they're not, they don't excuse what I was doing. My stuff is my stuff, and I've owned it to the court. I've owned it to the public. I have no intention of hiding from it or running from it. I had drugs at a really bad time when my house got raided, and that was because of bad decisions that I made to use a bunch of substances while being on a live stream. I actually got quite good results for what I was facing. I received 5 years of probation, which is the maximum amount that can be given out for my charge. I actually think 5 years of probation is insane. That's what happens when they sentence with a fucking hammer. The child charges were unsustainable, and so were the gun charges. People talk about how much it was. It's really, it's not that much. 19 grams is about the size of a ping pong ball. I don't inherently regret my choices. I regret what my choices produced, but I can't say I regret doing fun things when there were no consequences. This is the penance for the sin. But had it never produced the negative result, I wouldn't have been sorry.
Okay, so I've not gone to Kiwi Farms and read the accurate notes yet. So depending on who you ask, that either means I am not doing my due diligence, or I'm not ripping off of other people, which is good. Man, we live in such a paradox where it can be taken a good way or a bad way. So for this video, I'm just gonna go ahead and give some general thoughts about the Rekieta comeback world tour. Because as I'm recording this video, Rekieta is also streaming with an individual named Bronca. I don't know who that is. I heard about him, but I don't know who that is. I had to spend more time on the internet. Anywho, Nick made a grand return on Saturday where we were gonna stream snipe him, and we kinda were, though he kinda hit us with a swerve, you see. He started off by giving a fake apology, which is good for e-celebs. Honestly, he probably should have done this from the get-go, but he gave his fake apology, acting like he cared. The only problem with that is that he did this after he showed that he didn't care.
And I won't be doing it again because I don't want to go to prison. I'm not gonna bullshit you. I made a lot of decisions that were really fucking fun. And I had a great time doing a lot of it. You find out that like the DARE program has completely propagandized. And so you start to go, oh, okay, no, this is actually fine. Like, I didn't want to be sober. I have to be and will. I abused substances, I guess, but I just liked them. They were fun. I know if I go out to a club now or go out to a bar now, I could go out to them sober, but I would not be having the fun that my brain thinks it should have. And that reward system's killed. The drugs and alcohol are easy to not do. Like, I had a bunch of drugs. I thought drugs were awesome. I still do. That's why people do them. Drugs are awesome. People wouldn't do them if they weren't. They're illegal. And that legality has really fucking dangerous consequences. People do drugs because drugs are awesome, and the awesomeness of them outweighs the risk.
This is the thing, like everyone knows this. Money and opportunity eliminate moral boundary.
The state said in my case, there are no victims here.
The thing, the only victim of anything I did is me.
So again, the critical thinkers will realize that he is just full of shit. And he's just saying this at this point because whatever's left of his audience, which is still a decent amount, will believe whatever bullshit is thrown at him. Or them, in that matter. I'm sure he's got some ladies in there too. It's how he got into this mess, or part of the reason why. After the fake apology is where the swerve hit. See, I have told you time and time again during my critiques of Trump, and incidentally Mr. Medicare, amongst other grifters in the e-celeb fandom, that if you do some appalling shit, or even criminal-like shit, if you go into MAGA, they'll just take you and open you, you know, give you a nice little welcome party. And that's not really a slight at MAGA. Well, the old MAGA, this is like current gen MAGA, pretty much. You have some controversy, you do something wrong. I'll give you an example. There's a person named JDA that's a anti-SJW grifter. He very much sucks up to people like Razorfist and Melanie Mack for some exposure. He beat up his wife, but he just chants MAGA, and he kind of gets away with it for the most part unanimously. So, you know, we got scenarios like that. There are countless others, but the general gist of it is if you have some controversy that's even so egregious to the point where you make your wife black and blue, you can just cry, well, not cry, you can chant MAGA and then be like, cry liberal, and you'll essentially have a shield. So what did Nick Rekieta do? He took my advice and he decided to go and swerve right into the MAGA grift, or the MAGA shield in this instance. See, after he gave you the fake-ass apology, he went on to say Donald Trump good, basically, and he started singing the praises of our president. Which, there's nothing wrong with that. The only problem here is that Nick Rekieta is using it, and he's using it as a shield to try to deflect further criticism.
I put my family through living hell. After 5 months of drinking, I was off restrictions. One of the first things that I did, I was so excited. I had bottles of my favorite whiskey. I have been sober since early June. There was a brief period of time, November to April, I was able to partake in an alcoholic beverage. What did I do to merit the government controlling my life to this degree? When you are under the thumb of government, you are not prepared for it. They will violate the rules of evidence. They will violate the rules of civil procedure. They will violate the rules of juvenile procedure. So one side gets to say whatever they want, and they can lie. They can fabricate details. When the state is ready to, they will lie about you. This is a fact. What I've learned is that that line that the government put in their complaint was a lie. And by the way, the state worker tried to lie to us. Maybe it's because cops lie a lot of the time. And it involves a government agent lying to the court, because you're about to hear a lie from Miss Pierce. The detective, Officer Pomplin, lied. To then have a government come in and be like, you guys must be terrible because some retards lied about you. But I was treated with an uncharacteristic hostility from the detective. Par for the course in how this county has treated my case, which is with no regard to the actual law regarding documents. They have overtly violated the law several times. There's one drug testing facility in this county. Challenging results from that drug testing facility is nigh impossible. A judge ruling against it puts every single drug case in the county in jeopardy, because all of it comes with a government gun barrel pointing at that person for the entire time. Our children, one of our children, was reporting inappropriate behavior by someone who was around and associated with the county government. The people who made the reports, I know exactly who all of them are. Every single story that was reported as part of that initial report, they're all based on truth, and they're all knowing lies. Ben Frill says, next time, hire a better nanny. Oh my God, by the way. My kids have started telling me the stories, and I'm not going to share any now, of our prior nanny. And I mean, holy shit. Because we have the officers touching my daughter's hair. I'll show you the studies as to how cocaine gets into hair. Cocaine specifically. There was some shady stuff about the warrant. And this is the retarded speculation that's been going on this entire time, that I am somehow disrespectful or causing some sort of trouble. Well, I gave a statement willingly because I wanted to call the cop a pussy a whole bunch. Sorry, I'm kind of an asshole.
You did call the cop a pussy?
Yeah. What did I do to merit the government controlling my life to this degree? There are some sad, pathetic people who can't realize their own inadequacy. And when that inadequacy manifests and their life suffers consequences because their inability to be introspective, their unwillingness to self-examine or accept criticism or even self-critique, they rewrite their own history. They make up stories. They come up with a timeline and a set of facts that doesn't exist to justify their own failures. No matter how many times those failures were pointed out to them in friendly ways, they just can't do it. Someone else did it to them, because it certainly couldn't be their own fault.
Suddenly, the mind process behind the apes is, you criticize Nick Rekieta, that means you criticize our president. And, you know, as flawed as that ideology might be, most of the people, especially that's left in Rekieta's camp that are giving him money, actually believe this shit. And some of them don't even believe it so much as they're like, oh, this is a socially acceptable mindset that most of the rebards will end up doing, so let's just go with that. See, it dawned on me how much people still to this day, a part of the, from the harshest of critics, and people that can actually use their brain, how many people still want to believe in Nick Rekieta, despite him just being a danger to his children, a jackass, and an egotistical narcissist. Hell, I'm sure there's some people out there that are critics of him that just want him to continue to live on because of his lolcowdom. I have heard rumors that some people, specifically in the Kiwi farms, never want anything really necessarily bad to happen to the lol cows because then the lols cannot be milked. So they don't actually wish anything to happen to Ralph because then you won't be able to laugh at Ralph, Ethan Ralph that is, amongst other people. I think Rekieta might fall under this category as well, because let's be honest, we have the potential for another relapse of Rekieta in the future, though there's some people that are still optimistic that this will be the only controversy he's ever had, or the only multiple controversies he's ever had. And with that being said, right as we were going to close this book, he decided to go back to malding, seething, and just a little bit of coping. See, while this approach was, in theory, a good approach for Nick, about as good as he could ever do, seeing as how he pretty much semi-revitalized his image, put up the MAGA shield, and then proceeded to get boatloads of money by pretending like nothing that anybody said actually got to him, he then went on to seethe about certain people. Not only that, but from what little that I did see, which is just whispers, I have really accurately seen everything autistically in detail, which, you know, I have to do. But certain farmers are not very impressed. In fact, they took apart what he said rather easily and rather fast from what I see. I mean, so fast and so easily that even a famous meme channel of Rekieta's was able to put together a fancy little edit, little compilation here. So while this was probably the best Rekieta could have done as a comeback stream, and now he has the right mindset, like I said, at the top of the hour right now, he is currently streaming with that Bronca individual. The nose still knows no bounds. And what that basically means is Rekieta is still fibbing and probably will still lie for the remainder of his career on the tubes. I guess because he's no longer on the substances, he's not allowed to be, and there's no more ape afoot. That might mean that he is not going to go ahead and go on mass block sprees and call you a nerd and, oh, most importantly, wish death upon you, you know, like he so freely did, because none of this got to him, definitely never got to him. He might still do the occasional crack where he mauls. In fact, I think he preemptively already warned everybody that he was going to do this by saying, I'm still going to take digs at certain people, but I wish them $1 million, which is code for Nick being like, well, you know, I want really bad things to happen to you. I can't say it on the internet, though, because optics. So Rekieta pretty much going back to the Weasley little, you know, whatever you want to call him. But I'll give the devil his due. I think that it is, to an extent, kind of impressive that Nick Rekieta, despite pretty much tanking his entire career, at least a good fraction of what his, main power was back in the days, to the minuscule level it is now, still at its minuscule level, it's still a higher power gap than most of his critics, if we're being honest here. Now, I don't know why that could be. It could be people that are too parasocially attached to Nick at this point in time that they don't want to let go. It could be that Rekieta still holds some dear fond memories from the past that people, once again, do not want to let go. Could be that there are a lot of cucks in the world, and in Rekieta's chat specifically, that just relate with him. Could be there are a lot of bad parents in the world. Really, an e-celeb is a reflection of yourself to an extent. It is your identity, and everything Rekieta has done, pretty much anybody that supports him at this point in time has done or would let, go. That would in theory mean that none of them have any real morals, but they'll just continue to pretend like they do, kind of like Rekieta. So realistically, it makes a lot of sense because there are more bad apples in the world than there are good. You just can't point at every bad apple because some of them are what I like to call fucking NPCs. And what an NPC is, well, it's a non-playable character. You don't really put the spotlight on them because they're not even worth it. Rekieta is not a non-playable character. He very much is a main character, at least to an extent. I don't say it in a way to praise him, but to give him his dues, he's still that guy that's talked about enough and able, maybe not by his own merit, but still able to process numbers that will in theory allow people like the Kino Casino to make a paycheck, people like me to have a bunch of G Fuel, and I don't know what Sean or the other law tubers are going to use their super berries for, but I know that, you know, talking about Rekieta will sure give them a boost in the algorithm and a boost somewhere else. Again, I'm just going to say the things that probably nobody wants to say, but I'll give the devil its due again. Yes, Rekieta is an egotistical, narcissistic pile of trash. Makes Destiny look like Father of the Year, probably won't change anytime soon, will continue to prey on your downfall while saying he wishes you $1 million. He's wronged a lot of people and he'll probably continue to wrong a lot more people in the future. But despite all these negative aspects of Rekieta, you still have to look at this with an objective lens from time to time. And when it comes down to is Baldo was the star and had the superstar power. Because if this was not the case, why was every LawTuber going to his specific channel? I guess that's the only argument I would point out. Why the hell would you gravitate towards this narcissistic, egotistical maniac in the first place? If you had even the slightest hint that this probably wasn't the right apple, I think you should come out and say, hey, I gravitated towards Rekieta because he was giving me a lot of money and exposure. I don't really feel like being a cover-up guy. I don't really feel like saying Baldo never really called the shots in this. I will once again give her certain people, alright, certain people their dues and say, you know, those law tubers, like potentially criminal and legal mindset and, you know, Kurt are probably better people than Nick. Nick the lawyer. You know, the law tubers that were essentially under Nick's thumb, for better or for worse to an extent, right? They are probably better people than Nick. Because let's see, the cold facts and the reality of life is that nice guys do indeed never or rarely reach the heights of a asshole narcissist. Well, again, the person that'll pretty much dispose of you and stab you in the back as soon as they can, which again is Rekieta. And it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. This guy has been a slimy, weaselly fuck for well over 7 years when I started telling you this, and people were saying, you're coping, son, you just want to be a part of his show. It was not very hard to see what kind of individual this guy was, just from 17-year-old me, right? So I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say that these highly skilled lawyers kind of knew what kind of was going down with Rekieta. And I'm not doing any cover-ups for anybody. I'm not sugarcoating anything. None of these people are my friends. None of these people are associates. So again, everybody's going to get a little bit of critiques here. But if you think I'm wrong, please give me the alternative for, or you know, why this is the case or why this is not the case. I'm well open to hearing responses about this. With that being said, this is pretty much the update on Nick at this point in time, and just some general thoughts that I got out of it. Let me know what your general thoughts are in the comments section down below. There's still like a lot to go over that you can't really fit it in an upload, a singular upload. So while you send a like, a thumbs up on this video, I'm going to prepare for a stream, a Rekieta focused stream this Saturday at our usual time at 8:30 Central, 9:30 EST. And, you know, I'll care about the West Coasters for a second. I believe that is 6:30 EST. Pacific time, right? 6:30 Pacific time for you. We're going to go over all this Rekieta stuff. We'll probably look at some Kiwi Farmers posts. Go look at his long-winded cuts of stupidity or whatever have you, and the lies that have been produced by the lovely Elisa Clips. Again, great channel, great clipper, and if you want to check them out beforehand, I've seen she's posted quite a couple already. But yeah, until next time guys, have a good rest of your day, and please remember, do not be a retard.